Remember this thing? You know? Like when Smash Bros. For Wii U came out, they had a GameCube controller adapter that was like incredibly fucking hard to find, and I'm not sure what's the status on trying to get one of those things nowadays, but yeah, this thing right here, the PDP controller, that's like a GameCube controller. As you can see, I got the Metal Mario one. It's chrome. Everything's chrome in the future, yeah. Yeah, it's basically a classic controller. You know, you plug this into the Wii remote just like the classic controller, and well, use it. If you really like the GameCube controller, you know, you can use this if you don't have the adapter. Or, in my case, I wanted this, you know, because if I ever do an 8-player Smash Bros. Game, which probably won't happen because people are never fucking around anymore, ever, at all. But if I ever wanted to do that, you know, a fifth person could use a GameCube controller, somewhat. And also, you know, it says on the back here that it basically works with, you know, Wii U games and Wii games that, you know, support the classic controller with this icon. So, yeah, and there's a lot of them, too, that use the classic controller. There are actually some Wii games that let you use the classic controller, but not the GameCube controller. Like Sega Superstars Tennis, and the one I mainly wanted to get it for was King of Fighters Collection, the Orochi Saga, because that game is a lot more playable with this controller. Now, I still do want to get the Classic Controller Pro, you know, because that'd be a cool thing to own, and it would also be great for, again, also King of Fighters Collection, the Orochi Saga. If I could say anything about the controller, it's nice. I mean, it wasn't made by Nintendo, but it was licensed by Nintendo, so, you know, that's kind of good enough for me to get it. It does have a nice feel. It doesn't, like, you know, obviously feel as good as, say, a GameCube controller, but, I like what they did with this. You know, it did seem kind of odd because the joystick on the left side is raised a little more, at least visually, but, it's not too bad. I quite like this controller. It's definitely great to finally have a classic controller of sorts, you know, to, use with, like, Wii games that use the classic controller, but not the GameCube controller. There's a lot of reasons to get a classic controller, and even if you don't want to hunt down and get one, you could get one of these, I'm sure, at your local Target or Walmart. Target if you're in, you know, United States, because, yeah, Target Canada is not a thing anymore. Anyways, here I have, yeah, excuse the noises in the background, there's, like, construction and shit going on here, but excuse those noises. But anyways, I've got Extreme G3 for the GameCube. I wanted this. I remember Pete Dorr talked about this game briefly in his GameCube collection video that he made back in 2010. And, you know, I did, over the years, gain some mild interest in the first two games for the N64, which I am going to get those eventually, but, you know, when I found this for, like, a couple bucks, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's get it. And, yeah, Extreme G3 is pretty damn freaking good. It's nice to have, like, a little futuristic racer on the GameCube, because I still don't own F-Zero GX, but I will eventually. But yes, it's a fast, futuristic racer. It's pretty damn good. I really like, you know, its course design and it's just energy and feel to it. You know, I feel like I say that a lot about games I like. You know, I don't really go in depth more than that, but it's like, what else can I really say? I don't know how much else I can describe it. It is maybe a little too reliant on the boost, especially considering you don't get as too much boost. I mean, granted, that adds strategy to it, you know, but I wish it wasn't as reliant on the boost. It could have been a little less. I don't know how else to describe it other than that, but it's pretty damn fun, not gonna lie. The GameCube version is probably the best one. I'm not sure if the PS2 version has multiplayer. I mean, it could with the multi-tap, but yeah, the GameCube version is probably the way to go. Here's something I've had since August. This is the 3DS version of Rodea the Sky Soldier. Now, as you may know, as some may know, or very little, I did buy the Wii U version of this game that comes with the Wii version. I played it, beat it, I loved it, I thought it was a great game, and yes, I will say that for the Wii U version, I do stand by and think that the Wii U version is still really good. Even though Yuji Naka is like, oh, just play the Wii version, I really do like Rodea the Sky Soldier. As for the 3DS version, it's something I bought, but I'm not going to play just yet, because I kind of want to wait a bit, because I feel like it'd be more appropriate to play this sometime later on this next year, like maybe around May or so. The interesting thing is about the 3DS version is that it looks more colorful than the Wii U version, but, you know, not as, like, maybe not as colorful as, like, the Wii version, because that's one thing a lot of people love about the Wii version of the game, is that it's colorful, and I agree, the graphics in the Wii version are actually kind of better than the Wii U version. But yes, I did, of course, you know, like the game enough to buy the 3DS version, and I hope to God that there's a sequel, but honestly, who knows if that's going to happen. But the cool thing about the 3DS version is that it comes in this box here with the soundtrack. And I'm going to be honest, this is the first video game I ever bought that came with a soundtrack. Now, yes, there's lots of games that have done that in the past before, with many, like, collector's editions and limited editions and special editions and shit. This might... Actually, no, this isn't the first one. I lied, I'm sorry. No, the first one was, Super Mario All-Stars on the Wii. Shit, I really fucked up. My memory kind of sucks, doesn't it? Yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, but yeah, it comes with a soundtrack. Wow, they're really being fucking loud out there. But yeah, I am looking forward to playing this sometime later on next year, because I like the Wii U version, and I'm gonna like the 3DS version, because it's for the most part the same. There's not too much different, it seems. Alright, now we got some PSP games. I've been wanting to give, you know, my PSP some love. It's really a system that I really should have, you know, paid attention to years ago, but hey, now that I finally got one, you know, it's time to do that. First one I got here is Pangea Fantasy Golf. Now I'd like to give a shout out to Metal Jesus Rocks. He mentioned this in his PSP Hidden Gems Part 2 video. He didn't talk about it too much in that video, and I really wish he did, because I think he could have potentially said just a little more. But yeah, it's a golf game, or Pangea as apparently they call it. You know, it's got like a story mode and stuff. The story mode's actually kind of cool. I do like the writing and stuff. Despite the Japanese look, it's actually, I think, based off of like a South Korean MMO. If I'm trying to remember what Metal Jesus Rock said in that video. But yeah, it looked really fun, and it's dirt cheap, so I picked it up. I played it for about a few hours, and yeah, this is a great fucking game. Like, I like this almost as much as like a Mario Golf game. It almost kind of reminds me of Super Bowling on the N64 with its, you know, charm and uniqueness and personality, though, you know, a lot less expensive, and probably something, you know, you're more likely to play because, well, there's more PSPs than there are N64s. But yes, Pangea Fantasy Golf is a really fucking fun game. Again, great charm, great, really everything. Just a great game overall. And now we have Gunpei. This was also kind of a Metal Jesus Rocks, I don't know if recommendation, but in that video he made with his friend Kelsey, they talked about the Wonder Swan and like the Wonder Swan color. And they mentioned how a puzzle game for the Wonder Swan called Gunpei was on the PSP. I looked it up on eBay and I found this brand new for $6, and well, basically the way it plays is that you connect lines together, and once the lines, you know, reach or make a row like that, they disappear, and the lines keep on raising up. So you got to basically clear the lines before they reach the top of the screen. Of course, you can make longer lines and combos depending on how you arrange them. And yeah, I played this for a while, and this is actually pretty goddamn fun. This is on many systems. You can get it on the DS, the Wonder Swan, and the Wonder Swan Color, and the PS1 and stuff. So, you know, if you just happen to not have a PSP, don't worry, you can get it on lots else. But yeah, this is actually another great game. You know, just good stuff. I'm really excited to get more games for the PSP. You know. And now we have the retro stuff. Okay. Here we have Super Tennis on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's tennis. What's the best way I can describe it? I don't know. Sometimes whenever I'm trying to hit the ball, it doesn't, work, even though I could have sworn it did. I'm still really trying to figure out how this game's hit detection works. It's harder to get into than, say, it did for, like, Racket Attack on the NES for me. But I had high hopes for it. I'm not sure if this game really lived to the hype entirely. But considering how cheap it was, it's not, I can't really say I'm too disappointed, but I don't know, it's good, but I'm just having a harder time getting into it, compared to other tennis games. This is a Parlor Mini 4. I don't remember the full name of it. I'll put probably like a annotation. I think it was like Parlor Mini 4 Pachinko Jicky Simulation Game or something. Like, that's what it probably says. I know that's really, like, unprofessional of me, especially considering I can remember titles like Bisojo Senshi, Sailor Moon-S, Kondo wa Puzzle de Oshiokyo. But yeah, it's Pachinko. I wanted to get a Pachinko game, even though, Pachinko is very unremarkable, and as is this game. Even for a Pachinko game, this is incredibly fucking weak. And yeah, Parlor Mini 4. There was more than one of these. In fact, there was fucking 8 of these, I think, on the Super Famicom. And all they are just 2 small Pachinko boards. They're nothing special at all. They're incredibly weak and bare bones. Even if, like, somebody was, like, crazy into Pachinko and they got any of these Parlor Mini games, they would have been disappointed because this is fucking weak sauce. One Pachinko game I guess I do kind of want to maybe get my hands on is also on the Super Famicom called Super Pachinko. Why? Because I can't seem to find really much of any gameplay of that game anywhere on the internet. So that might be actually kind of fun to look up and see what the hell that's all about. But yes, Parlor Mini 4 is an unremarkable waste of space and time and just shovelware shit made to put out there to make a quick buck, but honestly, it probably didn't make a profit. None of them probably did, honestly. Even, they released 8 of them, whoever the fuck, like, published this or whatever. But yeah, fuck this game. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, we got Gokujo Parodius. Or maybe it's Gokujo Parodius, however you want to pronounce it. But yes, it's Parodius, one of, I want to say this is the second or third game in the Parodius series. And as you may know, Parodius games are, very Japanese shooters, with, like, all kinds of crazy characters and just very Japanese stuff going on here. And in this game's case, it's got even, like, Navy music and, like, Army music going on. Like, you'll hear, like, Flight of the Valkyries and stuff in glorious Super Nintendo instruments and stuff. And, just crazy bosses, crazy shit. Oh my god, yes. You probably know what Parodius is all about. And Gokujo Parodius is a great freaking game overall. It's not too overwhelming in difficulty. There's multiple characters to try out, so that adds some replay value. There's different difficulty settings and whatnot. Granted, the bonus stage that happens after the final boss sucks ass. I hate it. It's really stupid and annoying, but it's a great game overall. And hey, I'm happy to get it for like probably. I was happy to get it for probably like what, $15 cheaper than what it normally sells for. I'm surprised it doesn't go for more. And considering it's a 16-bit Konami game, it's probably going to, because every fucking Konami game, but in the 16-bit era, is like worth a fortune. Castlevania Bloodline, Super Castlevania 4, the sequel to Rocket Knight Adventures, Contra Hardcore, Contra 3, the list goes on. But yeah. Here we have Viewpoint for the Sega Genesis, but you wouldn't know that. In fact, you would probably think the game is just titled, eyeball, creepy, spooky eyeball getting shot on the cover. Because look at this fucking cover art. But yes, it's called Viewpoint. This is a Genesis port of what I believe was either an arcade game or a Neo Geo game. It's an isometric shooter, and a pretty good one at that. I haven't beaten it yet. I'm definitely going to work on trying to beat it. Probably on easy mode, because honestly, there really isn't too much of a difference between easy and normal, I feel. But yeah, it's a pretty damn good isometric shooter. Yeah. I don't know what much else I can say. It was gonna have a sequel on the N64 called Viewpoint 2064, and a prototype of that, was actually found about a year ago, because the game was never released. But even then, that prototype has not been dumped yet. In fact, there hasn't been any word on that prototype since it was discovered. Sure, there may have been there was that gameplay video or like a thread on like Nintendo Age, but there still isn't any fucking news about the ROM of that game getting dumped, which kind of sucks because honestly, Viewpoint 2064 actually looks really fucking good. It's a shame that never got released. So hey, at least we got this to enjoy. Or if you got a shit ton of money, you got the Neo Geo version to enjoy. But yeah, that's Viewpoint for the Sega Genesis. Here we have Link's The Challenge of Golf for the Sega CD. Now, of course, I want to get more Sega CD games, and let me tell you, especially after getting this, definitely the next Sega CD game I get is going to be something actually, like, really freaking cool for once. I'm going to have to, have that patience and whatnot to get one of those, but because, this was cheap and I saw it, fuck it, let's pick it up, because I'm desperate for more Sega CD games, and hey, I like golf games, they're good, so fuck it, let's get that. In fact, hell, this game was actually only released in North America, so it's like one of like 16 or 20 games that I own that were only released in North America, so that's actually pretty cool. As the title implies, it's golf. A golf game so real you can smell the green. That's a good thing. I don't know. I can't get into this really, honestly. It seems like anything I fucking do just, the ball and the gameplay just does not go well like the way you would think it would if you played like at least a couple golf games before this. This just doesn't play well at all. In fact, this is even more like tedious and annoying than Black Box Golf on the NES. I really don't know. It didn't even really have much remarkable music because, I always, praise Sega CD games for having great music, but I don't know, did this game even have music? What the fuck was going on with this? Link's. Honestly, I remember when I saw this game, not at the store, but I remember when I saw this game in like a YouTube video years ago. I think it was like Alpha Omegason's room tour video. When I saw this, I immediately was like reminded of like Link the Faces of Evil. I don't know, maybe it could be the font or the big bright yellow text. I mean, obviously I didn't think it was a Zelda game because why the fuck would it be? But that just always I found kind of amusing, and whatever, hey, it's cool to have another Sega CD game. Maybe I'll go for a full set. No, I lied. I'm not doing a full Sega CD set. And here we have Star Fox 64 on, what else? The Nintendo 64. This is why this video kind of took a while, because I wanted to wait, till I beat this game, and I did. It didn't take too long, because it's not terribly hard. It's definitely easier than the original Star Fox. But yeah, I've always been a fan of the Star Fox series, for like a couple years now. It's definitely something I've grown to appreciate more. But not as much, because there's really not much in the series at all. I really wish there was more games. Like, I personally think a Star Fox on the Game Boy Advance would have been cool. But yeah, after playing it and beating it, I can say it definitely does live up to the hype and all the praise it gets. And, hey, it shows I can enjoy a game like this without, like, memories and nostalgia, because, that's something people are generally accused of if they like a game. If they like a game that some people generally, define as, oh, it hasn't aged well, they'll say, oh, you only like it because nostalgia and shit like that. Now, nobody says this game hasn't aged well, because it has aged well. It's a great game. But, yeah, considering that this was the last Star Fox game I played, because I've played all the other ones with the exception of Star Fox 64 3D, I guess maybe I appreciated it more for that fact, but I don't consider any of the Star Fox games bad. But I don't consider them all great, but I don't consider any of them particularly bad, but 64 right here is, great. It really did live up to the hype, and, all the memes, like the dual barrel roll, and something's wrong with the G diffuser. It was just a great, time to play. It's definitely a very accessible game, definitely a good starting point if you want to get into the series. As is Star Fox Zero, because I like that game a lot too as well. And you know, the fact that Star Fox Zero borrowed so fucking much from this game really, you know, speaks volumes of how much people really loved it. I mean, I guess Star Fox Zero had no choice but to reboot itself after Command. But yeah, that's Star Fox 64 for you. Here we have Doki Doki Sassetti for the Game Boy Color. I talked about this in my Game Boy Color 18 years later video, but to basically recap, this is I'm assuming it's a dating sim where you're playing as a girl trying to go out with one of these guys. I'm just gonna assume that from what I've played. I got this because I was looking for another Game Boy Color, another Japanese-only Game Boy Color game that would have been really stellar and cool to have. I saw this on Game FAQs. For whatever reason, it was rated 4 out of 5 by a few people, and I'm like, okay, what is it? And I found out, oh, it's probably a visual novel. Tried to look up gameplay, there was no gameplay. So it's kind of like the case with High School Terror Story. Although High School Terror Story had screenshots. This does have screenshots on the web, but honestly, not too much. But hey, at least I found another game in which I could be the first person on the internet to upload fucking gameplay footage of it. Really, there's billions of people in this world. There's like 7 billion people in this world, and and none of them, at one point in their lives, decided to upload some gameplay footage of this game? I mean, I know it's obscure, but like... fuck. What a great way to end this.